Greetings, my freedom-loving friend. How are you doing early in this week? I'm recording this on Saturday the 18th, but this is going to be released for Tuesday. I'm trying to stay up on the news as much as I can, so I'm trying to record early and get it out pretty quickly thereafter. Let me know if you like this style. Or if you want some more consideration in the filming before I film it. All that feedback is helpful. Today we have a hodgepodge of things that we're going to get into. Notably, the Chinese marijuana farms. We have to keep focusing, drilling down, getting to the bottom, prosecuting, and solving this situation as soon and as effectively as possible. Obviously, you want to continue being effective, so you don't want to rush it, but it needs to happen pretty quickly, so you need to maintain that efficiency together in order to get to the bottom of this situation. And as Mainers, I know not everyone watching these films are from Maine, but something you should know about Mainers are we are hardworking, dedicated, and when we want to get to the bottom of something, there ain't no power in the world preventing Mainers, stubborn-headed mules that we are, from getting to the bottom of what needs to be done. Ain't that the truth? So beyond that, we have a couple other things. Some of them are a little bit fun. Some of them are definitely serious. So it's just a little bit of a mixture for this Tuesday morning when this film is going to be released. So that way we don't have to consider starting our whole entire week off in the shithole of life that we seem to have found ourselves in. We are all in this together, so we need to continue to look out for one another, to uplift one another, to encourage one another. Stay hydrated. Drink a lot of friggin' water, because it's the one thing that we have that is one of the most powerful things on this planet. And if you don't think water is powerful, you clearly haven't spent much time around it or studying it, because water is so incredibly powerful. Fire doesn't stand a chance against water. That being said, water is our greatest ally when utilized correctly. So on that note, I'm not sponsored by water, but if I was, oh man, water, do you want to sponsor me? I'll talk you up all the time. Okay, so in that news, let's roll the credits and get into this. Welcome back, nerd. I can't make fun of you? Well, the truth is I make fun of my friends more than I make fun of the people that I don't like. If I don't like you, I'm not going to talk about you, I won't joke about you, I won't even think about you. If you're my friend, I'm going to taunt you, and I'm going to come up with jokes about you, and then I'm going to give you a candy bar and some water at the end of it. It's just how I am. So, a little bit of levity, trying to add some personality, like I said in the last video. Here we find ourselves in the great state of Maine. This beautiful landscape. It is incredible. It has so much to offer. And if you haven't visited here before, I encourage you to. We just got through the season of the foliage season, We have leaf peepers, people that come from literally all over the world that fly into or get to Boston and come up on buses or in vans in droves and come to look at our leaves, our foliage, because literally it is breathtaking, stunning. Like it, I have been to few places in the world that at a particular season like this, it just leaves you gasping for breath at times. All right, so let's just get right into it. Here we find ourselves with Friday Focus, Alleged Illegal Marijuana Grows in Maine by WGME13. Portland. In this Friday Focus segment, Steve Robinson, the editor-in-chief of the Maine Wire, spoke with CBS 13 about what could be illegal marijuana grows in Maine.
And welcome back. It's time for Friday Focus, our chance to go more in-depth in some of the issues of the day. Please be joined by a special guest today. He is Steve Robinson. He is the editor of the Maine Wire. That's an online publication affiliated with the conservative Maine Policy Institute. But we're not talking politics today. We're talking about some original reporting, Steve, that you've been doing. And it has to do with these illegal Chinese grow operations that have been popping up in Maine and have gotten some attention. But you've been working on this. Again, we've reported on this. The Bangor Daily News has reported on this. But you've really done some original reporting on this. It sounds like this is the tip of the iceberg of what people are seeing.
I think it is, and you know, this really all started when the Daily Caller, Jenny 𝗏𝗏, actually published a leaked Department of Homeland Security memo that said that there were between 270 and 300 of these sites in Maine.
Hundreds.
And so I reached out to some of my high school buddies in Dexter and just said, hey, is this actually happening? And they said, oh yeah. And so that's where it started for me, was in Dexter, reviewing property records and talking with people that I knew there, and found 8 of them in Dexter. Purchased by Chinese foreign nationals from either New York or Massachusetts over the last 3 years. It really started in 2020. And they're very obviously marijuana grow sites. You could smell them from 100 or 200 feet away.
And that's what neighbors are. You've gone to a lot of these sites,
Yes.
you say, and neighbors have been telling you the same thing. They don't see a lot of activity, but other than maybe some plates from New York and New Jersey, things like that.
It's a U-Haul or a white van shows up once a month on loads. The neighbors have complained to the cops. The local cops know where all the sites are for the most part. The sheriffs know where the sites are, but nothing really is being done from a law enforcement perspective. There's been 2 significant busts, but we've identified over 200 of these sites all in rural Maine, and we've visited almost as many in person to confirm that there are illegal marijuana grow sites, and again, owned by Chinese nationals.
And looking at the one in Carmel, because obviously that's just west of Bangor, that did pop up. There's a court case. There was a raid there that happened.
Yes.
Interesting as we see, we've seen some of the images there. They have a large utility pole outside bringing, I think it's much more power than the normal home would need.
Yeah.
Is that typical of what, again, it's a marijuana grow. I mean, you need power. It's power intensive. That seems to be a pattern here. And you've also said that you were seeing a lot of, almost these heat pumps as well for air conditioning.
Yeah, so there's vast amounts of electricity being consumed at these sites. When they purchase one, the first thing they do is they call CMP or Versant, and they ask for a transformer upgrade. Your average Maine home probably runs on a 10 kVA transformer. Some of these places need a 75 kVA. Neighbors tell us about losing power several times a year right after they move in because they're blowing the transformers. If they don't get that, there's just not enough juice coming in to operate the marijuana grow. They also have 400 amp service that they install, which is 300 amps more than most Maine homes need. So they're consuming vast amounts of electricity to run the lights. The lights generate heat. They need to keep the marijuana at 75 to 80 degrees in order for it to prosper. So the heat pumps are actually not heating, they're running air conditioning. So even in the middle of the Maine winter, these heat pumps are going to be on cool mode.
And Steve, you mentioned that the not a lot of law enforcement activity focused on this, but it seems that at least there is some at the federal level. There have been a couple of busts, there have been some activity. We know the congressional delegation's been very interested in finding out more about this from the Border and Customs Patrol, FBI, DEA. In fact, Senator Collins had a briefing from DEA this week.
Yes, the FBI has been investigating this for at least 2 years, as near as I can tell. There hasn't really been FBI
2 years,
action,
and we're
at least
only
not
now
officially.
hearing
It was
about
the bust
this
in
at
Carmel that
large.
resulted in the arrest of 4 Chinese nationals, pending court case there. There was a bust in Dexter, Maine.
Again,
this is
not
the only
healthy
incidents
plants.
I've been able to discover.
These aren't
of a
even
local
healthy
police
plants.
chief, local police department taking action on one of these sites. However, that didn't result in any arrests. And as far as I can tell, there's been no trouble for the owners of these sites. Now, there's no indication that the name on the deed or the mortgage, that those individuals are involved in the actual illegal activities, and I'm sure that they would deny it. But the one
you
in
guys
Carmel,
getting
for
worked
example, is
I'm getting
registered
worked
to
up.
an LLC that was registered in the name of a gentleman from Massachusetts. And as far as I can tell, he's still free and clear at this moment.
Wow. And again, it looks like we're just scratching the surface. And we're just scratching the surface of this conversation. Unfortunately, we're already out of time. But Steve Robinson from
Out
the
of
Maine Wire, a lot
time.
of reporting
Out
going
of
on
time
this, and
for
of course,
what?
We'll be
For
continuing to report on
whom?
this too. Steve, great to see you.
Thank you.
All right, Steph, let's send it over to you.
You're out of time? No, there is more to report. We have questions. We want answers. Make the fucking time. I mean, that's not the ultimate issue here. That's not the ultimate issue, but it's annoying. So, I was supposed to go through headlines. I wasn't supposed to start off just balls to the walls like this. This one got me all worked up, yo. Okay, so let me just go through some headlines really quickly before we dig more into them. Maine suspected of stealing 2 trucks assaults Waterville cop. Augusta murderer suspect pleads not guilty, intended to scare victim. Look at that face. I would have sworn that was a mask, and it would scare me. Just show up, and that's scary enough. I'm awful. Maine veterans tell of dead animals, yellow water, and cancer at Canadian base. Excellent, excellent. A little bit of levity here. Maine Beer Company to release new brew in honor of Henry the Porcupine. Florida man gets 20 years for sexually extorting Maine child on Instagram. 20 years ain't long enough for that kind of shit. Boat found washed up on shore as Coast Guard searches for missing fishermen off Kennebunk Port. Nonprofit seeks new owner for struggling Bangor homeless shelter. That's what we need right now is struggling homeless shelters. Saddleback, Maine unveils new $10 million workforce housing complex. And lastly, WABI5, where to get a free Thanksgiving meal this 2023 season. There is no shame in having to eat out at Thanksgiving because of the cost of everything, because of struggling, because of all of these different reasons. But also the community, you get to eat with other people. People want to be there. They have donated for this. They have given their hearts. They love preparing. When I was a kid, I used to volunteer at these kind of things every year, and it was a good thing to do. And so there is no shame in this. And it's almost a way to get to know your community. And if you do go and you do eat for free, but you have some money, donate a little bit, because this helps that continue going in the future. Maine suspected of stealing 2 trucks assaults Waterville cop. A Waterville police officer suffered a broken bone and a concussion early Saturday morning after confronting a man in possession of a stolen truck. The suspect remains at large. Officer Josh Medeiros discovered the stolen Toyota Tacoma in the parking lot of the Kennedy Memorial Drive Circle K just after 3 a.m., according to Police Chief William Bonney. The car was reported stolen from Somerset County. A woman was asleep inside the truck and a man was standing nearby. Medeiros approached the suspect and a fight ensued, Bonney said. The suspect drove away in Tacoma. Medeiros was treated at the hospital for a broken bone and a concussion, but has since been released. Officer Medeiros put himself in danger, as officers do around this country daily, to help keep the community safe. The Tacoma was later found abandoned in Fairfield, where another truck, a blue 2003 Ford F-250, was reported stolen. Cops are not given enough credit because he's just trying to do his job. And just like any of us, we're going to work, trying to make a paycheck, trying to take care of our family, trying to be there for our community. And then you have criminals that don't care about anything. They don't care about stealing vehicles. They don't care about endangering officers' lives. They don't care about gun laws. They do what they want to do. And thanks to officers like Medeiros, who a concussion is a big deal. I mean, you can only suffer so many of those in your life before you can potentially be brain damaged for life. So that's not something to take lightly. All for this scumbag. Augusta murderer suspect pleads not guilty, intended to scare victim. Okay, well, it sounds like you fucking did it. So, a man wanted for a Maine murder, who was then found in Mississippi, faced trial on Friday and pled not guilty. Why'd you go all the way down to Mississippi then? In July of this year, the body of 34-year-old Tyler Robinson of Augusta was found on the side of Old Belgrade Road. 34-year-old Andrew Redmond was charged with his murder. You're 34? Ooh, your name is also Andrew? Okay, I'm an Andrew and I'm 33. You made some decisions in your life, and murder was clearly one of them. Authorities say that Robinson and Redmond knew each other, and Redmond allegedly only meant to beat up or scare Robinson. Okay, that's it. Maine State Police reported that Redmond was arrested in Mississippi. Sounds like he was arrested on something else, because, I don't think people in Mississippi are looking out for Maine wanted individuals. I mean, is that a common thing? Because, they have better things to do with their time. Maine veterans tell of dead animals, yellow water, and cancer at Canadian base. Bangor Daily News. Kathleen Phelan Tomaselli. Several members of state commission charged with studying the effects of harmful chemicals on members of the Maine National Guard who trained at a Canadian military base said they saw large dead animals, dead foliage, and yellow-colored water while training there. Commission member Dave Donovan served 12 years in the Maine Army National Guard and went to Gagetown, New Brunswick military support base in Canada 7 times, the first in early 1970s. I ended up with prostate cancer, which was extensive. Shortly after that, a large melanoma patch on my back developed, possibly from Gagetown, he said during the commission's first meeting in Augusta this week. I hope our endeavor will relieve some suffering. He got prostate cancer. You got to get the prostate removed. And then when that happens, your entire sex life changes. All for him trying to serve this country. And, this is disgraceful. The way our veterans are treated, the things that they have been through, the things that they must subject themselves to is not right. It is not right, and it needs to change. And then the ones that have already done and gone through this deserve all of our respect, humility, and whatever assistance they need, because they gave us so much already. All right, let's switch over to WGME13.
Raising a pint in honor of a popular porcupine. On Monday, Maine Beer Company is going to release their Black Barn No. 45 Brown Ale. It's dedicated to Henry the Porcupine. He was an ambassador at the Center for Wildlife in 𝗏𝗏𝗕𝗏. The center says that staff and other ambassador animals will be at the tap room to talk about their work, celebrate their partnership with Maine Beer Company, and of course, cheers to the memory of Henry the Porcupine.
His nature and his demeanor made him one of the best ambassadors that have ever graced our presence here at the center, just because of his sociability, and he was really able to deeply connect with people.
I love animals.
Special opportunity for people to break down some of those misconceptions about his species and really get to encounter a special animal close up.
The Henry Memorial Mingle is going to happen from 6 to 8 p.m. If you're interested,
cute.
we have more information on our
Look
website.
at that old dog.
WGNE.com.
Look at that old boy. In between this set and the last recording, I just had a mini heart attack because I thought everything I had previously recorded just got deleted. And I was super sad. Turns out I was wrong. So now I'm happy. And now I'm sad again because of this article from Bangor Daily News. Florida man gets 20 years for sexually extorting Maine child on Instagram. A 43-year-old Florida man was sentenced Friday in U.S. District Court in Bangor for sexually exploiting a Maine girl he contacted on Instagram and distributing child pornography. You sick, disgusting piece of human refuse. Wesley Deal, also known as Wesley Troy Harris, posed as an 11-year-old boy posed as a teenage boy to interact with an 11-year-old girl on Maine on Instagram beginning in 2020. The amount of shit that is going to come back to 2020 and all of the damage that ensued during that time will be a cautionary tale to the future. She was 11 years old in 2020. How many grown adults lost their absolute minds in 2020? And she was an 11-year-old. So this 11-year-old is obviously a victim of the highest degree. And this 43-year-old should go to prison and have exactly happen to him that deserves to happen to him. And I found a picture of this filth. Here he is. This filth. Wesley Deal. You absolute trash of a human being. Stay away from the children, or you will pay eternal consequences in this lifetime and the next. Boat found washed up on shore as Coast Guard searches for missing fishermen off of 𝗏𝗏𝗧𝗏𝗏𝗏.
And more breaking news tonight. The search is on for a Maine fisherman missing off the coast of 𝗏𝗏𝗧𝗏𝗏𝗏. He was supposed to come back to shore yesterday afternoon, but never returned.
And this morning, crews did find his boat, his other belongings, but no sign of him. CBS 13's 𝗟𝗡 is joining us now live from that search area with the latest. Mal.
Greg, authorities are still calling this a search and rescue operation for the 64-year-old who they have not yet identified. One family member that I talked to who didn't want to go on camera says they're hoping they find him soon. It was already dark around 7 yesterday evening when police contacted the Coast Guard. A fisherman hadn't returned to shore.
Inherently, searching at night does have its challenges, it does have its limitations.
Throughout the day, authorities have looked from the air, off the coast, and along the shore. So far, they say they found his boat overturned on the rocks by Walker's Point Friday morning, along with a boot, a plastic tote, fishing gear, and life jackets. Still, no sign of him.
The potential area of where the missing fisherman can be is a very tight area close to shore.
They're focused on looking near Walker's Point to 𝗏𝗏𝗧𝗏𝗏𝗏. Creek. A man who identified himself as a friend didn't want to go on camera, but he says the missing boater is a longtime lobsterman and would go out around this island. The U.S. Coast Guard confirms he was out relocating some lobster pots.
We have a number of fishermen and volunteer responders who have come out and have aided in the search.
The Coast Guard says they've had good visibility and not very strong winds, which helps. Large tidal cycles in the rocky coastline are creating challenges for searchers.
If you're an experienced mariner and you can get out on your boat and you can look, by all means, if you can do that safely, we welcome that assistance, walking shorelines. We just don't want people taking unnecessary risks.
Authorities don't believe the man was wearing a wetsuit, and they're unsure if he had on a life jacket. With water temperatures around 50 degrees, officials are aware that's a serious concern.
At this point in time, we are still operating under that this is a search and rescue, and we're going to continue as long as there's a chance of survival.
Now, authorities say all signs point to the man having gone into the water. If you live along the shoreline and see anything that may be related to this search, you're asked to contact local police right away. Live in 𝗏𝗏𝗕𝗏𝗏, 𝗏𝗏𝗕𝗏𝗏, CBS 13 News.
Okay, now we hope they resolve that soon.
Yeah, that's sad, because that's a very profitable career here in Maine. It's a very dangerous job. It's something that a lot of people appreciate. Nonprofit seeks new owner for struggling Bangor homeless shelter. Kathleen O'Brien from Bangor Daily News. Parent organization of one of Bangor's 2 adult homeless shelters is looking for a partner to take over ownership and operation of the emergency shelter. Portion of the Hope House Health and Living Center, according to Lowry Dwyer, PCHC, President and CEO. It's just, when you combine relatively flat funding from state sources with the rate of inflation and the acuity of the needs of the population, you get this perfect storm of factors that make it untenable and unsustainable for us to operate a low-barrier shelter effectively. The shelter alone is projected to lose more than $600,000 by the end of the year, Dwyer said. Next year, the shelter is projected to lose more than $800,000. They're just trying to help, and the project, funded by nearly $2.8 million in pandemic relief money from the city, is expected to add 12 beds. The renovation will also impact the building security, inflation control. Oh, okay. Let me start. Dwyer said she hopes the upcoming expansion and renovation to the Hope House will continue regardless of the ownership transition, as it's critical to the safe and efficient operation of the shelter. Right now, of all times, we can't be having homeless shelters shutting down. People in Maine cannot live in the winters outside. It's not possible. It's very, very difficult. It is possible. It's very, very, very difficult. Saddleback Mountain unveils new $10 million workforce housing complex.
What is a first for Maine is a way for a popular ski resort to help solve both the shortage of housing and workers. According to Saddleback Mountain Resort, they are the first to build workforce housing on site. CBS 13's Brad Rogers gives us a first-hand look at that new complex and shows us why workers there are excited.
Come. It's a big day on Saddleback Mountain despite the lack of snow on the slopes. Saddleback workers say they're eager to move into this new $10 million workforce housing complex next week.
We're the first mountain in Maine to establish housing on site, which is amazing. It's really nice to have something that's right on site. And I mean, you can see right up to your back door, man. That's like living the dream, you know?
Many Saddleback employees lived in apartments or homes in the Rangeley Lakes area that have since been bought out in the post-pandemic rush to buy properties. Saddleback says this workforce housing is critical to reestablishing them as the region's largest employer.
What's it going to take to reestablish workforce in this region? Well, people want to have a place that they can stay.
There are 43 rooms in this building that will house 70 to 90 workers, along with a kitchen and several areas to relax.
This is just going to be a lot more comfy, cozy, and so close.
Most certainly, having people right on the mountain will be helpful for our business.
Saddleback GM Jim Quimby says they wanted this place to feel like home.
It's beautiful. It's clean. It's new. It's lots of room to leisure in the place. A great big break room. Lots of little cubbies here and there. You know, we've got the big deck outside, the ski in, ski out deck.
The Saddleback workers living here will actually have two ways to get to work. They can take a shuttle bus, or they can take a trail over to the ski lift and ride up to the lodge. Kyle Lutz is looking forward to skiing back to his apartment.
I can just slide right into my, the back door there, pop my stuff in my locker, I'm home. Right now we're at about 90% capacity, but we're gonna be full like that as soon as the season starts.
Saddleback hopes to open for the season December 2nd.
True.
Saddleback Mountain, Brad Rogers, CBS 13
Wow,
News.
that's going to change things for Saddleback. Saddleback has been struggling. They were closed for a long time. They only recently reopened. And then the pandemic hit. I am a skier. I love to ski. I love being outside, regardless of what it is. I love being out in nature. Skiing is huge for me. I was actually a former employee of Sunday River Mountain here in Maine. So I used to work just like those people. I had a place that was about 15 minutes from there. You had to have a vehicle. There was transportation some of the time for buses, but only during peak season. It wasn't set up for employees. It was set up for everyone, tourists. So having something like this for seasonal workers that want to go, they're going to work hard. They will work days in and days out, making good money as they deserve, but it's going to be hard. So having housing and everything for them, having that relief taken off. I mean, housing before in Saddleback in Rangeley, Maine was already expensive, or you had to put up with some really bad conditions. So now we have BlackRock and all these other groups buying up all these houses and just taking over. So how are seasonal places like that supposed to continue unless they do stuff like this? And here we are. Lastly, WABI 5. Where to get a free Thanksgiving meal. I'm going to include this. I'm not going to read out all of these names. You can see it for yourself. There are some starting on Wednesday the 22nd, and then there are some on the 23rd. It's really good for elderly people that don't have family in the area and they still want to just get out and hang out. They might even have money. It's not just for people that have no money. Although if you have no money, if you're really struggling, this is a really exceptional thing. It's a really good time. And if you don't intend to take advantage of any of these, even just for community reasons, think about reaching out and giving them some money, because we are all in this together. There ain't no one else coming. We have to do this for ourselves. I just want to finish up just face to face rather than having the news cycle streaming through. Right now in the world, there's a lot going on, and it's confusing, it's hectic, it's chaotic, and all you're trying to do is just hold yourself and your loved ones together. So just keep in mind that we're all doing that. That most of us are caring, kind-hearted, compassionate individuals. We don't like to be forced to give money, but we will give money. We'll give the shirts off our back if that's what it takes. Don't try and force it, because that won't happen. But if we see genuine need, we will make sure that whatever we can do will be done. So much of the news, so much of media, legacy media, has a scary mindset. Makes us believe things are really bad. And they are, y'all. But I think if you're tuning into this channel, my channel here on YouTube, it shows a certain understanding where you get where I'm coming from, and I'm getting where you're coming from, even though it's not a typical dialogue. I do respond to the comments, I read them all, and I get back to them all. And it seems like I'm hitting the nail on the head a lot of the time. So if I can do that, if I can speak up, if I can say these things, then I would happily do so for those that aren't in the same position as me to do that. We're living in some crazy times, and all we can do is be there for each other. Pray and love. Those things I don't think are ever bad. I don't think if you're there for each other, if you're loving each other, if you're praying for each other, I have a hard time seeing how any of those things are detrimental. So if they're not detrimental, then maybe they're beneficial, and maybe we should do them a lot more. Everything in moderation, but do those need moderation? I think most things in moderation. Not everything, because being there for each other, loving each other, praying for each other, I don't know if moderation is a good thing for that. Those are just my thoughts. There's a little bit of philosophy thrown in. I often have these questions in my head, and I'm like, oh, I need to film a video about that, or pose this kind of particular question. And I will do that, I think, in future videos, but for now, I'll just sprinkle them in here and there throughout my video. So if you made it this far in the video, I really appreciate it. It helps the algorithm. It helps the view time. Just all around, I appreciate it. If you wouldn't mind leaving a comment down below how your experience was with this video. Do you like the more editing bits? Do you like more raw coverage? Do you like shorter format? Do you want more longer format? Let me know down in the comments below, because I genuinely take them to heart. So I can't wait to see you next time. Have a great day, my freedom-loving friend.